Okay, why don't we just wait a minute and then see if we got some more people coming, Matt, and then we get started? Is that good?
All right. Sounds
Cool.
good. I'm in a little rare form today, so just heads up. It's gonna be today's gonna be a little intense.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Alice, you ready?
I'm in one of those moods.
You know, one thing I haven't done, Matt, is the Wednesday or Friday session.
Oh man, you got to go and watch the recordings because they're fire.
Yeah,
Especially
cool.
Fridays. Especially
yeah.
Fridays. Fridays was a big deal.
Cool. I will. You know, tell us all about it. Make sure everybody knows.
Yeah.
Cool. Why don't we get started? So after the first week, yeah, more people will pop on, I'm sure. The first week of Bold is behind us, and it was amazing. I mean, Pivot certainly is not disappointing, and it was, I mean, it's just a call to action, all about mindset. It was phenomenal. So Matt's here to do a check-in with us as always, and get us ready for this week too.
So all right, so here we go. So welcome for those who made it on the call. You're here, ready to go. Because here's what's interesting, and here's what we know is that the second week, this is where you get to check in, because we're sitting at a fork in the road right now, right? The environment that we're in, unprecedented, new, unknown. We've got all kinds of challenges around us. And so you've had a week now to put pressure on yourself and your systems. And this week is going to be a revelation for a lot of people. This week is going to be a revelation, and that we're going to discover how we show up when it matters most. Do we show up or we show out? Right? Do we go all in or we go all out? And so I believe in the power of questions. So I'm just going to leave you with, we're going to start off with some questions. Number one, just quick recap of last week's opportunities, right? We had the opportunity to create or limit our distractions by following the 4 strategies to eliminate distractions from the one thing. So ask yourself, right? Self-reflection now. Self-reflection and interrogative self-talk is going to be your partner this week, right? The power of the questions that you ask yourself are going to help you propel throughout the rest of this week. So ask yourself, how did you do this week limiting your distractions? How did you do with your bunker? How did you do with making sure that you had your provisions? How did you do with enlisting the right support? How did you do, in those areas? The second is, did you do all the homework ahead of time? Did you get the reading done, or did you promise yourself you would and then you didn't and you let yourself off? And are you okay with that? And then the third one is, were you prepared with your database? Whether you have a little one, a big one, or something in between, whether you're new or whether you're seasoned, whatever it is, did you set yourself up for success, or did you fall back into a pattern of, I'll get it when I get it? So today's conversation is going to be about one of the 6 personal perspectives that I feel is really the most important one. In fact, without this one, the others, nothing matters. The others don't happen. Nothing in our business happens until we get really clear around accountability. And in the 6 personal perspectives, Gary shares with us that accountability is first an attitude and second an approach, right? If we follow the be, do, achieve model, accountability is first an attitude, which is a being, which is an understanding, which is a way of becoming, right? And then an approach, there's systems and models for accountability. And today we're going to share a couple of those so you can get some clarity on self-accountability as well. A couple questions. So in my journaling, and I trust everyone is journaling. In fact, if you're doing nothing else, journaling and asking yourself powerful questions every day is going to be the biggest impact for you. So some of the questions that I wrote down that I'd love for you to share with you all as well is when discomfort or challenge arises, do we give it a voice? And what is that voice? Is the voice a victim or is that voice accountable? So when challenge arises, do we give it a voice? And what's the tone of that voice? Is it a victim or is that voice accountable? Another question here, especially because we've been having some fascinating times working in our homeschool academy here, the Lewczenko Academy of Higher Learning. And I asked myself, if my kids gave me the same excuses I make for myself, how would I coach them out of it? So if my kids literally just mirrored back the same excuses I'm giving myself or my team of why I did or didn't do something, how would I coach them out of it? And then journal it. Thank you, KW Zoom Room. I don't know who's typing that in. Logo is a good question. All right, Rick. So then when we go back to the 6 personal perspectives, right? So the being is the questions and asking ourselves, like, I know everyone says that, yeah, I love accountability, and yet loving accountability and being accountable are 2 different things. One is rhetoric and one is actually a way of being. And it's the being accountable or being held accountable can be really uncomfortable. And it's how we show up when true accountability comes into play makes all the difference. Because having the opportunity to coach a lot and go around the country and teach and coach around accountability, I've seen some really fascinating things. And what happens, and we all do this, and in fact, this goes all the way back from when we're kids. When we're really held accountable, people show up in really interesting ways. And one of the programs that I had attended called it, we've got our trump cards. That when we're pushed to a limit, we'll play this card as our last resort. And for some people, it's the, you don't know me, you don't know what I'm dealing with. I'm going to get so mad that you're uncomfortable to challenge me. So I'm just going to get mad and you'll leave me alone then. Or I'll cry and shut down and then you'll leave me alone then. Or I'll take my ball and go home. I don't need this. I don't need this. This is too much. I'm just going to go. This isn't what I signed up for. When really pressed on accountability, we show up in a lot of different ways. And so it's how we choose to show up for accountability is really, really fascinating. And so am I able to share my screen, guys? Do you have permission? Ooh, it does. Good. I'm going to share the screen here real quick. Can you guys see this screen? This comes directly out of the 6 personal perspectives, and this is the perspective of accountability. And you can download this on kwconnect.com. And whenever someone is interrogating themselves on if they're showing up as a victim or accountable, you can follow this mindset model, this checklist, right? So the first and foremost is that when we're faced with adversity or challenge, the accountable person, number 1, seeks reality and then asks themselves some powerful questions. Okay, what's the issue? And how does awareness of this issue lead to its resolution? Right? Many of us are struggling to balance or counterbalance family time, homeschooling, partners in relationships. All of these challenges show up, right? So what's the reality? The reality is that we have to be more effective with less time, right? When we have work time, which may not be as much as we expected, we've got to be super, super, super purposeful in all areas of our life, right? So how does the awareness lead to its resolution? Well, if I don't have enough time and yet I've got goals that are not movable because my family is counting on me, and if I'm truly honoring my family, I'm not going to change my goals. I'm going to change how I show up for my goals, right? The accountable individual acknowledges reality, saying, I have less time. So what do we got to do about it? They own it and get empowered about it, right? So they change their energy and focus to resolve the issue. Instead of 90 minutes in one stretch, maybe I've got 4 15-minute stretches between snacks and screen time or whatever else is going on, right? And so some of us may not have kids at home, and this may not be relatable, and yet what happens, though, is distractions at home. Because Gary shares with us less than 10% of us are effective with self-accountability when left at home. right? And then the last question is the accountable individual gets on with it. Then they identify, okay, what are some action steps that I can take to achieve the solution I'm looking for? So this is a good checklist to, if you find yourself going down the poopy pants mode and you start saying stuff like, this isn't realistic. I can't do this. This doesn't apply to me. And you start all of a sudden start going into victim talk. You got to ask yourself, okay, what's actually the issue? And how can I solve it, right? There's another questionnaire here that we'll get to real quick before I'm going to stop my screen share here because I'm going to challenge you with a couple different questions, right? So think about working out or athletes, etc., and in the gym, right? So you got to ask yourself a question. You know, if you've got a challenge doing this past week on your own, where you said to yourself, you know what, I'm good. I know what I need to do. I'm just going to do it. And then now at the end of this week, you look back and say, have I hit my goals? And if you haven't or not, I'm going to ask you, who's spotting you? Who's spotting you? Because if you think about going to the gym, when you go to the gym on your own, can you get in shape? Yes. Are you limiting your growth? Yes. Why? Because there's always that we can do when we're held accountable. When someone's spotting you on a squat or a bench press, right? You're not going to go for a maximum rep on a squat or a bench press without somebody behind you. Because what's going to happen? You ever see somebody get stuck on a bench? Right. Without a spotter, you get stuck. Well, Matt's in a t-shirt. Am I feeling okay? I'm feeling super bold. I told Steve, I'm in a rare form today. I'm ready. I'm in my workout mode, right? So the question is, right, are you setting yourself up for a no-fail mission as well? A spotter is going to allow you to get the most out of this, and so is an accountability partner. So the question is, this past week, I know one of the assignments was to find a role play partner, and yet you also got to find somebody that's really going to hold you accountable, like really hold you accountable, and not allow you to get really good with your excuses, because we're really good with that. One of the things, you know, like I like to run. I set challenges for myself that are not comfortable and fun. Here's one thing I know about myself, right? Once a week when I'm training for a race, for a half marathon or marathon, et cetera, once a week there's a long run. Steve, you know this. You're a runner. Once a week you got a long run, and it's usually 10 or 15% longer every single week. I found that if I go to a track that has laps, guess what happens? I get about 80% of my run done because I'm really hurt. My legs hurt. Everything hurts. I'm uncomfortable. And I say to myself, man, it's still pretty far. I still did a lot. I'll make up for it next week. So when I find myself on a track with laps, I cut myself short. So what I found is that in order for me to hit my goal at the end, I've got to do out and backs. So if I've got a 15-mile run set up, I've got to go 7.5 miles down the road and then turn around, because guess what? I can't get home until I cover the other 7.5 back. I'm not done at 10.
There's no other way to do it.
There's no other way. There's no other way, right? So the question is, in our businesses, have we set goals for ourselves that are out and backs, that we just have non-negotiables until we hit it? Or are we okay with good? Is good good enough? And are you sacrificing great for good because of your lack of self-accountability? Right? And this goes back to self-mastery. It's about becoming the master of you, becoming the black belt of you, of how you show up with your own commitments, right? It's, do you execute each day or each decision as a non-negotiable with yourself? Because here's the thing, if you're saying to yourself in your trump cards that you've got to honor your family and it's God, family, then business, well, the only way to really honor your family is to take care of your business. Are you hearing me? If you truly want to honor your family, take care of your business, which means stop giving up on yourself. Stop giving yourself an out. Stop quitting on you. I trust you hear my heart in this. And here's the thing, I care about you guys enough to have this conversation with you because I know you can handle it. And yet someone's got to have this conversation with you. When you're sitting by yourself this week and the challenges are coming and you look down and you don't have enough people to talk to seemingly, are you finding a solution, or are you just saying, I'm good with that? I'm good with allowing this scenario to win. Or are you finding an opportunity to fix it, right? Are you exploring reality? Are you acknowledging reality? Are you being empowered by the solution and then finding ways to get on with it? Gary has an accountability conversation that we can have with one another and ourselves. I'm going to share the screen here again, 1 second. And again, this comes right out of the 6 personal perspectives. And this is a coaching model. The first question is, what was your goal this week? And so as you're looking at this, feel free to write down these questions. And after this call, I'm going to challenge you to get off the call and answer these questions to yourself, right? So what was your goal? And then secondly, how did you do with that goal? What was the gap? The third question, then Gary says that this is one of the most important questions, and how we answer this is going to determine whether or not we're going to succeed or not. So how do you feel about it? If you're like, meh, it was okay, I did good. That's a dangerous reply. Because you can't coach someone who doesn't have a reason to succeed. There's nothing else that somebody can do if you're okay with not hitting it. If you're okay with not hitting it, then nothing else can fix it, right? If you're not okay with it and say, I'm not okay with that, the question is, well, based on how you did, what's now your new goal? And what do you need to do now, right? So if you're short on your contacts, if you didn't add as many people to your database as you intended, if you didn't send out enough cards, if you didn't send enough care texts or messages, what's the gap and what do you have to add this week in order to do it? Now that you've added to make up, right? Because the goals are immovable, our actions are changeable. The first question is there anything that might keep you from doing that, right? So think about this coming week. What were the obstacles last week that got in the way, and could they possibly get in the way this week? Think about what could get in the way, and then create several solutions or tactics to solve those. And then finally, do you need any training or support to do that? And if you do, what would it be? Like, are you missing a script? Are you missing a dialogue? Are you missing a technical solution to command to your database? What are you missing skills wise, and how can you get it? Who can you get it from? So this is just an accountability conversation. If you can have it with yourself, and it's more effective to have it with one another, right? If you've got a scripting and role play partner, add this layer of accountability to it. And make sure you're asking yourself the tough questions and coming at it from the position of someone who's accountable and not a victim. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and somebody had there was a quote in the podcast that somebody said that the obstacle isn't in the way, the obstacle is the path. The obstacles that we face aren't in the way. The obstacle is the path. There's no other way to get to our goal other than to go through these obstacles, to go around these obstacles. They're not getting in our way. It's the path, right? See the chat box lighting up. So there's a rule out there that the Navy SEALs follow, the 40% rule. Have you ever heard of the 40% rule? David Goggins talks about this a lot. Eitzler, who is the guy that hired him for 30 days, Living with SEAL. If you not listened to or read that book, he hires David Goggins to live with him for 30 days and take him through his workouts. And what David shared with Eitzler was that There's something out there called the 40% rule, and the SEALs live by this 40% rule. And the rule is that when your mind and your body is screaming at you to stop, that you're done, that you've had it, that you're at your actual limit, like there's nothing left, the reality is that you're only at 40%, that there's 60% more in you. However, our minds and our bodies scream, stop! And yet if you just keep going and you ignore it, there's more in us, right? So this past week, with all the things coming at us, if there was a moment that you're saying to yourself, I can't, there's not enough time, I'm done, I'm overwhelmed, I've got this is coming at me, these bills are coming at me, income is gone, like what, if you're saying I'm done, the good news is that you're only at 40%. However, in order to get there, you need a spotter. You need to do an out and back. You got to get off the track and put yourself into a no-fail situation where you've got to get it done even if you have to crawl back. You have to find a way to stop quitting on yourself. And the thing is that when your commitments to yourself become the most important thing ever, you're then become unstoppable. When the commitments that you make to yourself are non-negotiable, that's when your life will change. I promise you that. So, accountability, again, is an attitude first and an approach second. The attitude is number one, you have to make a decision that you're going to become accountable and change your mindset, right, on how we see reality. And then there's models and systems. There's questions. There's accountability partners. There's coaching. You got to ask yourself, right? Yeah, Relentless is good. Yeah, that's a good book too. Tim Grover. Yep. That was Michael Jordan's coach. And if you're watching The Last Dance right now, whoo, man. Talk about leadership lessons. Talk about some lessons in being a winner, right? So share with me, what are some of the ahas? What did you hear from today's call? What are your takeaways? You may have to unmute.
What do you guys have to say? I saw you writing notes.
Commitment is non-negotiable. Commitment to yourself is non-negotiable. That's pretty powerful right there.
Totally.
Thanks, Carlos. Right on.
I like the way you said it, Matt. Are you setting yourself up for a no-fail mission? I like that.
And I also like when you said the fact that if someone's not willing to meet their goals or they're okay with it, they're not coachable, because then you're just like, you kind of want to take the horse to the water and you want to shoot it and you want to put it in the water. You know what I'm saying? Like that's powerful, you know?
Yeah, Donna said the obstacle is the way, right? The thing is that we wish for obstacles to go away. And the quote is, don't wish it for it to be easier. Wish for more skills to get better, just to handle it. Remember, we get paid in direct proportion to the amount of problems we can solve. We get paid in proportion to the level of problems that we can bring solutions to. So don't wish for less problems, wish for better skills. Because when you skill up in handling problems, you get paid more. Your compensation is in direct proportion to the level of problems you can solve. So just get better. And the only way to get better is to have more reps. Anyone else? Ahas, takeaways. What are you going to put in place this week, accountability-wise, attitude and mindset-wise, in order to succeed, in order to not fail yourself this week? Debbie, looks like you're ready to jump to the screen.
Yeah, a little bit. So I love that idea of out and back, because I kind of demonstrated it to myself this morning on a walk that I took, and I wanted to do and blah, blah, blah. And I just went to the end and then came back and then I accomplished my goal. My question to myself is, how do I apply that to my goals what do I do to make that goal that absolute, non-negotiable?
Love it. Love it. So a couple questions or a couple ideas, right? Some of the ways that I do it, some of the ways that I coach others to do it is chunk it down. If you think of a long run and if you think of 13 miles or 15 miles, if you think of it all at once, you're done. You're done, right? And so an out and back, number one, cuts it in half. And then even in that first half, I set targets for myself for, okay, what's my mile splits going to be? Maybe I'm going to do a walk run interval instead, because the long run isn't about how fast it is. It's just about the distance. Mm-hmm. Right? So I may do a walk run interval in there to make sure that I have enough to get back, right? Because the result is the distance, not the time. I'm not worried about the time. In fact, most of us go way too fast in the long run for it to be really beneficial. So if I'm making contacts, I'm going to lock myself in my room. I'm going to tell everybody that I'm not coming out until I've got 10 actual contacts. And until I do that, I'm not leaving the room. And then I'm just making them 5 or 10 at a time. You know, instead of thinking of the 40, my goal is I'm going to have 10 by 11 o'clock. I'm going to have another 10 by 2 o'clock. And then from the rest of the day on, I can now use messages and media to get the rest of my contacts. So my target is to get all of my over the phone and face-to-face contacts before 2 o'clock. After that, while I'm prepping dinner, while I'm sitting there doing Netflix or whatever with my family, I can be sending out messages and still be present, and then having those two-way touches and engagements and reinforcements, right? So it's about finding the times that I have and making it non-negotiable. And for me, with the contacts, the 40 is I've got to get them done before 2, or else I won't do it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
So chunking it down, letting others know, locking the door, setting targets that are smaller targets within the larger target, and really understanding what's the measuring indicator that's most important. Is it speed or distance? Is it how fast I get it done, or the quality? Is it quantity or quality, right? And then find the balance between.
I also like the cutting down of like, if you can't, because I have like ADD, right? So I can't like do something for too long, right? So and that I've been doing lately. I've been saying, you know what? I'm gonna do 15 minutes. I'm gonna do 20 minutes. I'm gonna do 30 minutes. I'm gonna take a break. Then I'm gonna come back. Right on, guys. Thanks, Matt.
Awesome. Listen, I've got less than 1 minute to jump off. So if I'm going to leave you with anything, right? So have these accountability questions as part of your weekly recap at the end of the week or the beginning of your next week. When you're doing your planning for the week, have these questions as part of your journal. What was my goal? How did I do? How do I feel about that? Give yourself a score, scale of 1 to 10. 10 being amazing. I nailed it. I get to go home with integrity, hold my head up high. I honored my family, right? At a 10. And if anything other than that, great. What's different based on how I did? What do I need to do now? How do I have next week be a 10? Right? Is there anything that might keep me from doing that? How do I bulletproof my week next week based on what I experienced this past week? Right? Don't go into the week in default. Go into the week with a plan, an intention, right? A game plan, a book of plays. Hey, last week these things came up. Guess what? This week these things might come up. How am I going to handle that? And do I need anything? Am I missing training, support, skills? Find them. Reach out to them. Don't wait for Steve to post a video on what to do next. Ask somebody. Take some ownership in your life and your business. If you don't know, find it. Stop blaming somebody for not delivering it to you on a platter. And I got to say it with a smile. Sorry, I got to say that with a smile. I appreciate you all. You're amazing. You're amazing. Love you guys.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, man.
Have an amazing week.
Have a great week. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.